They got something from Obi-Wan Kenobi. She
Was
is
it
Django and
Qui-Gon?
Obi-Wan's love child. But yeah, Jean Grey is an Omega-level mutant, which is fucking
Well, yeah.
terrifying. They're crazy powerful. But a very, very interesting character. The animators and the writers have been sitting there doing bumps of cocaine going, what is the coolest thing you wanted to see the X-Men do that they've not done? And then they make it happen. When it comes to the X-Men, it is necessary. And I don't just mean this for the women characters. The first person I mentioned it about was Gambit in his slutty crop.
Yeah, expecting them to do like a hyper-realistic face.
Just a picture of Stephen... Is it Stephen Ewan?
Yeah. Oh, that would have been hilarious if it was just Stephen Ewan. It is Overwatch, just like Valorant art style-ish with Marvel characters.
Hello, and welcome to episode 108 of Cutscene Convos. As always, we endeavour to get the best and the brightest, and this week is a mixture of all of that. We've got a character profile on the one and only Jean Grey. We have got The Bad Batch episode 9 to cover.
Yes.
We've got X-Men 97 episode 3 to cover.
Yes.
We've got Invincible season 2 episode 7 to cover.
Yes.
We've got a chunky Nerd News Network. It's also exciting and brand new. But Hori, how's your week been?
My week's been okay, other than the fact that it's almost been a week now, but I've heard 50% of the world because my ear is blocked still to this day. I think it was like the Saturday after that we recorded last week. I'd noticed my ear was a bit blocked, and I was like, it probably saw itself. And then I just woke up like Saturday morning, and I was just like, I really can't hear out my right ear. This is pleasant.
You're genuinely just getting old, pal.
And it's just
Back
like
in the day, that stuff cleared.
It's happened to me once before, like a couple years back, and it literally was like over a week, and then it just suddenly like cleared randomly. I think it's like I'm in the shower and it just cleared, and I was like, oh my god, I can hear the world again.
Noise.
So I'm hoping the same happens this time, but yeah, it's getting a bit frustrating. Other than that, it's been kind of a chill week. I'm trying to remember what I've not really done much this week. I've kind of just been in a bit of a CBA week, kind of needed a mental reset and just chilled, played some games, played a bit of Forza. I've definitely playing a racing game again has got me wanting to, it got me wanting to try sim racing, but obviously sim setups are expensive. But I've picked up Assetto Corsa, which is like one of the two main sim games. And I'm trying it on controller, which is really fucking hard.
Yeah.
But actually kind of enjoyable having that challenge. So we'll see. Maybe I will get bored of this within a couple of weeks, or maybe in a couple of weeks I'll be buying a wheel and
it's one of the ones where you just got to let it burn and see if it's going to stick around long enough to invest, or if using a controller will frustrate you enough for you to go, no, I don't actually want to do this.
Yeah, so we'll see. I might be about to go into my sim racing arc. But how's your week been?
It's been a good week. Stressful week, busy week. So on Monday we closed on the flat, so I'm now a property owner with keys and all of the joys that goes alongside that. So it was a half day at work on Monday to go and collect the keys. Still quite surreal. It'll be kind of between 2 and 4 weeks before we probably move.
Okay.
Because we've still got a lot of bits to sort out. So this long weekend that we've got coming up is just working out what we can get done, when we're going to get it done, booking stuff in, all of that fun stuff. And then at some point I'm going to book a Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday off. So I have 6 days off. Yep. And I'm going to tear my setup down on the Friday.
Okay.
I'm going to get all my editing done for like 2 weeks on the Thursday. I'm going to tear my setup down on the Friday. ask you to cover editing for that weekend, and then transport and rebuild my entire setup in the new place in a 4-day period to try and be ready to go live again for the Tuesday.
I'm sure it will go seamless.
Yeah, nothing has ever gone wrong with taking a setup apart and putting it back together again.
No, never. I mean, I would say if you can get it, the sooner you can get it moved and set up gives you more troubleshooting time.
Yeah.
So
I'm hoping that I could get it all, tear it down and get it all to the flat on the Friday, maybe minus the desk, because the desk is an L desk that will have to be partially taken apart to transport.
Right.
Then get it all put back together on the Saturday, and then that gives me Sunday and Monday for headbutting, troubleshooting. I'm looking to add some new lighting and additional monitor and a couple of bits like that. So we'll see.
Bless you.
We'll see how we do there. But yeah, it's exciting, and it's like it's going to be nice to have a more controlled environment where I can like think more about what I want to do. But the notion of taking down this setup, which is so kind of built into its corner, I'm just like, this is going to be horrible. But it's all part of the fun and games.
It is.
Right. So X-Men 97 has been the source of all of our character profiles for like 4 weeks already.
It has, yep.
This week, completely unironically, because I planned all of these really far in advance, we do have Jean Grey, which is just perfect timing.
Yeah.
No one will believe me, but this was decided well ahead of time. Jean Elaine Grey Summers first appeared in X-Men #1, July 1963. Jean Grey's potential had always been her greatest obstacle. As an Omega-level mutant, she is thought to have unlimited potential, making her both incredibly powerful and incredibly dangerous. As a young girl, Jean's powers were awoken when she tragically witnessed her best friend die after being hit by a car. This trauma caused her powers to manifest at only 10 years old. These new powers were far too much for Jean to handle, and she secluded herself to try and protect her sanity, as hearing everyone's thoughts and feeling everyone's feelings was far too much for her. Eventually, her parents were referred to Professor Charles Xavier, who came to visit them. During this visit, he revealed to Jean using his telepathy that he was also a mutant, and that she need not fear. He placed mental barriers in her mind to limit her power until she was mature enough to handle that power. He would go on to mentor Jean, and even asked for her help in calibrating Cerebro, a device that would allow him to amplify his powers and locate other mutants. After a few more years, Xavier was able to convince Jean's parents to enroll her into his new school for gifted youngsters, where she would train alongside other mutants secretly to help form the first X-Men team, alongside Cyclops, Iceman, Angel, and Beast. Jean's potential has led to much hardship, as she's always been hunted down by many entities for their own purposes, most famously the Phoenix Force, a cosmic entity of awesome power. The Phoenix Force is one of the oldest cosmic powers and is a manifestation of life and death. As a phoenix dies and is reborn, so does the universe and everything within it. This is the source of the Phoenix Force's power. The Phoenix Force was drawn to Jean because of her own psychic abilities and ability to maintain the Phoenix Force. Having saved Jean from near certain death and leaving her in a pod to heal, Phoenix took over Jean's place in the team. Having her memories, however, now led to the Phoenix Force having to deal with human emotions like jealousy. This led to her becoming vulnerable. This vulnerability was taken advantage of by the evil mastermind and the Hellfire Club. Having eventually been broken out of this spell by the X-Men, the Phoenix had been so corrupted by the human experience, they became Dark Phoenix. Whereas Phoenix was a beacon of light and life, Dark Phoenix was the inverse. Alongside the help of the X-Men, Phoenix was once again able to regain control, but to stop herself from turning again, she atomized herself, leaving the X-Men to believe Jean dead. Scott, now believing his love to be dead, couldn't believe it when he met someone so similar. Sadly, it was Madeline Pryor, a clone created by Mr. Sinister, who had been mistakenly granted life by the Phoenix Force upon its death, as Madeline was a genetic clone of Jean. She would go on to marry Scott and give birth to their son, Nathan Christopher Charles Summers, aka Cable. Jean Grey is one of these characters that you could do. Well, I know you can do like long histories on characters anyway, and we've always done shorter ones.
Mm-hmm.
But Jean Grey is one of them ones that you could very easily do a 3-hour deep dive on and still feel like you've not really scratched the surface.
Always feels like there's a lot to her story.
She's so key to everything that's ever happened with the X-Men, even if it doesn't seem like it at the time.
Yeah, because there's one thing like you didn't really mention there is the whole thing with Logan and stuff that she has.
Yeah,
that's
the
like
entire relationship with Logan, everything, everything's crazy. It is funny that Phoenix is always portrayed as being like an invasive part of Jean, when a lot of the time, especially in the original arc, she wasn't. The Phoenix Force wasn't within Jean at all. It was actually separate.
Yeah,
from Jean completely.
It's always given off as like it's something she's always had or kind of always.
Because that's how it was portrayed to the X-Men at the time, because they didn't know Jean was safe in a pod healing. And I imagine, as someone who's not read the comic, I imagine that is more of a retcon thing. When they wanted to bring Jean back 5 years later, they were like, she didn't actually become the Phoenix. The Phoenix just pretended to be Jean while Jean was hidden somewhere for their own safety. But yeah, Jean Grey is an Omega-level mutant, which is fucking terrifying. They're crazy powerful. But a very, very interesting character who has been involved in many unfortunate storylines where they don't have a lot of agency over their own story.
Yeah.
Bad Batch.
Yes.
The Harbinger.
We got Ventress.
We did. I mean, when we saw the title, The Harbinger, as well as what we got at the end of last week, I feel like anyone who pays attention knew what we were probably getting this week.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone knew from the trailer that she was coming, so it was kind of like all things pointed to it being this episode. I didn't quite expect it to happen on the island. I don't know where I thought it would happen, but
and it probably explains how the island ends up going to shit.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. This episode has once again instilled my fear in this island surviving. I'd kind of got to a point you were like, oh, well, you'd said, well, if no one knows about it, that's why we never heard about it again. It kind of just went under the radar. Now I'm worried that Ventress found it really easily and was able to track them and even told them, you're not that safe here.
Yeah, it's prime foreshadowing, isn't it?
Yeah, I really don't think that island's going to survive, unfortunately.
I don't have a great feeling about it, no.
Whether the people on it evacuate some of them,
yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be good for the island, unfortunately. But I enjoyed getting Ventress back. It was nice having her again, getting to see her more of a mid-ground sort of force user, which we're getting a few of these now, and
it makes a lot of sense for this era, though, doesn't it? The Jedi Order doesn't exist.
Yep.
And I mean, I guess the whole concept of the Jedi Order was Jedis had to accept things they didn't like Whereas any Jedi that survived Order 66, probably didn't follow the rules of the Jedi Order to the letter anyway, because they probably would have died for that, because of that. And then the Jedi that remained already probably more aligned to not following the rules. And then they don't even have anyone to moan at them for not following the rules, so they kind of do whatever they need to do. And then on the flip side, any Dark Force users that were about, they always just did whatever the fuck they want. They're just now being a bit more secretive about it.
Yeah, it's like we obviously the end towards like Order 66 was obviously the final moments, I guess you could say, of the High Republic era. And it's like those final few years through the Clone Wars, all the new Jedi like Ahsoka and Ventress, we saw in the Ahsoka series, all she ever knew was to be a soldier. She wasn't actually trained as a Jedi. She was just a soldier.
Yeah.
And it's like, that skews the perspective of the rules of the Jedi anyway.
Yeah,
and it's like,
during wartime, it's completely different.
Like you say, there's no Jedi left now to kind of lead the way. We have the Sith rule of two, kind of dark sides taking over and shaking things up. These remaining Jedi that were born in a time of war, obviously are going to lie in the middle. They have their point of view on the world. They don't believe in this idealistic like life that the Jedi once had. So it's fun to see, and more yellow sabers.
Yeah.
I think it was last week or the week before, maybe it was last week. You were like, "Does this mean Omega's going to have the Force?" I don't think this episode didn't really answer that question fully.
So I think this is just my opinion. It's always kind of been rumored that like while Han couldn't interact with the Force, he was a bit Force sensitive, and it's like kind of this understood because midichlorians exist in everyone. Like really good pilots are probably above a normal midichlorian level, but not Force user midichlorian level.
Yeah,
and that's why they're such good pilots.
Yep.
I won't be surprised if it's something like that. Like she's a bit more connected. She's a bit higher than her midichlorians would be expected to be. So that's why she's a bit more in tune with animals and just the world and stuff. But it's not so high that she can do anything.
Yeah, I think the vibe I got from the way like that final moment with Ventress and Hunter and that, and they were like, "You weren't telling the truth." I think she definitely has a higher M count than normal, and like you say, we know now, like the way it's portrayed now is that everyone has a midichlorians and M count or whatever, just various degrees.
Yeah,
and Jedi just come from those children that have high levels and then are trained on how to use it. Maybe Omega could have unlocked something if she'd been trained from the get-go, but I find that highly unlikely. I'm similar boat as you of like, I think I still stand with the idea that they obviously were messing around with what if we mix some Jedi DNA into...
Them Kaminoans were up to no good.
Yeah, they were obviously mixing something, whether it was early stages of them trying to see if they could make Force, well, just generate Force-sensitive clones.
They got something from Obi-Wan Kenobi. She is
was it
Jango
Qui-Gon?
and Obi-Wan's love child. Imagine.
But there's definitely something there where they've obviously done that, and I think what it actually is her M count is slightly higher, that it sort of survives the cloning process.
Yeah.
And kind of is that like a stronger level that'll act as a good base for trying to clone a Jedi, but she's alone not good enough.
In reality, all of the clones should have the same MIDI count as Jango Fett.
Yes.
So if hers is elevated even slightly, that means that whatever's different about her cloning process allows them to elevate M count and maintain M count in that subject, which is exactly what they want so that Palpatine can be as powerful as possible in his new bodies. So it doesn't need to be, oh, she can wield the Force levels of high. It just needs to have enough DNA in there for them to reverse engineer how to make a clone body that can maintain an M count.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of what Ventress maybe realized, that like there's clearly some need that the Empire has for them. But she obviously warned them that like don't fuck with the Empire, because she knows firsthand what the fuck's going on. I enjoyed her little line of like, I've got many lives left, because obviously she went and got like witch magic.
Yeah.
So we know that she's a bit sus in that sense. But yeah, I thought it was a good episode. Better than last week's. Gave us a few more answers. And
I would say last week definitely still is a filler, because it didn't need to be as much off the beaten path.
Yeah.
But it's not as bad of a filler. It feels more like a setup episode than a filler now, but they definitely could have condensed it down and made it work a little better.
Yeah, they could have done. I think it's hard to know what comes next. We know they're obviously building up to like finding this lab, and obviously something's going to go down. I wouldn't be surprised if next week the island gets found. Or
with the foreshadowing at the beginning of this episode, it would make sense.
It's almost like they've had a bit of a good go for a little bit now. Things haven't gone too wrong, because like they got Omega back. They escaped Wolf and that shoot there. It's kind of time for them to take a loss. So it wouldn't surprise me if we lose something goes down with the island next week, and
for sure
they're forced to kind of go find Rex or something.
Do you know what my problem is?
Well,
story-wise, if you want to kill someone off for an emotional hit, but not affect the story, who's the easiest person to kill off right now? Wrecker.
Oh. No, do you know who was easier? The dog. Everyone's become very attached to Batcher. I think we'd all be very sad.
Yeah, it'd be Batcher or Rex that's in the most. Not Rex. Wrecker that's in the most danger. Because they're just there. They're not adding to the overarching story at the minute. I don't mean that as a criticism. Not everyone can add.
I know what you mean.
To the story. They're in the most danger, and coming up to a double bill episode when we still know we've got 5 episodes after that, that puts them in a lot of danger.
I think, I don't know, or there's some pirate lady, because she's kind of friend of the thing, linked with the island. Potentially something there.
I've got a feeling we're going to have some gut punches over the next few episodes for sure.
I also think so. But I'm looking forward very much to where this is going.
Yes. As much as I love this filling in of time, it's nice that it feels like it's coming to an end and we're going to enter a new era of Star Wars lore soon. I think with like the maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years we have left of this kind of post episode 6 and pre episode 4 period of time, I feel like once that's all over in the next 3 years, I feel like I'm going to be ready to leave behind this era of Star Wars and go somewhere new. And I feel like the Acolyte's going to give a lot of people that taste, so that a lot of other people are ready to step away from this era at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's all like we know, and we've talked about it many times. Like this is all Dave fixing the sequels and the whole Palpatine thing. That's all these filler things have been, really, the underlying story. So it's kind of, it's been threaded there for a while now. Like I say, it's nice that it's kind of coming to an end. We know we've got the Mandalorian and Ahsoka and like the Mandalorian film, like that stuff's all going to happen to wrap up that half of it. The only kind of gap that I maybe would still be interested in seeing, that I've said it before, is like seeing how Rex ends up where we know how he ends up kind of just surviving and getting onto that planet, and then that little gap there. There's obviously something goes down between this and Rebels, and we know after Rebels, then he kind of just becomes part of the Resistance and the whatnot. That's probably the only little gap.
I expect we'll get a kind of idea of that by the end of this.
Yeah. Also, I think it will like set it up so they don't necessarily have to fill it out, but
it makes me terrified for Echo. Bearing in mind we know how close the Echo's working with Rex at the minute, and we've seen Wolf this season as well. Why does Echo all of a sudden stop hanging out with him? Or does Rex, who's really dedicated to helping all the clones, lose Echo, who's been his right-hand man this entire time, and that's why he goes and lives on a backwater planet?
I think I honestly, I think it gets to a point where I don't think anything bad happens at the end of this little arc. I think Rex will go through some time trying to save more clones, but slowly just keeps losing them to the point where it's just him, Wolf, and what's going on in my head now? The third one.
Frigga.
No. Gregor. I think it'll get to the point where it's just like the three of them. They're like, "There's no more clones to save. We've lost too many brothers. Like, let's just go.
Let's just stop fighting.
We've fought our fight. We've done. It's someone else's fight now."
For sure.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to next week anyway.
We are in
a
renaissance of animation.
Yes, we are. We're in a great period for animated shows.
In my life, bearing in mind we grew up with Saturday morning cartoons like Spider-Man and X-Men and all of that amazing stuff, we are right now living in some of the best animation the world's ever seen. With the Spider-Verse movies, X-Men 97, Invincible, all of this just pure, phenomenal animation.
Yep.
X-Men 97 is the best of the bunch for me right now. I say that as someone who adores Spider-Verse and adores the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The thought process going into every single aspect of this X-Men 97 revival is insanity.
I'm up there with you. It's hit. X-Men 97's really done an amazing job of hitting that visual style and vibe of the original show. Like, it feels like this could have come out straight like back when the show originally was coming out. Like, it doesn't feel any different, but it feels polished. Like, we can now see that like it's polished. It's sort of that thing of back then, this is how we remember it looking like, even though it probably didn't. And it's like they've hit that, and like you say, it's definitely one of the best animated shows at the moment. Spider-Verse is like, it's tough for me because obviously as a creative person, Spider-Verse hits so many points, like with just the style and everything they do there.
I do get that. My counterpoint to that, and why for me it slaps Spider-Verse, other than just recency bias, which I know I'm a huge victim of, is no other live action or animated project uses character interaction the same way X-Men 97 does, especially in combat. In every single episode, we have seen characters using their abilities in unique ways, and also using their abilities in tandem, which is like the X-Men. Like, an additional X-Men character is the Danger Room, where they practice and they train. So it makes sense that the X-Men, when they're fighting as a team, are buttery smooth, which they are. They don't get in each other's way. They're not tripping over each other. Instead, you've got Bishop going, Cyclops hit me, to store up all this energy to just obliterate stuff like it's second nature. It's all so clean. They do just... The animators and the writers have been sitting there doing bumps of cocaine going, what is the coolest thing you wanted to see the X-Men do that they've not done? And then they make it happen.
I think it's this two sides. Like obviously the fights and everything in Spider-Verse are also amazing. I think it's kind of each have their own fun thing they can play with. Like Spider-Verse has like the different worlds which we got to see visually. Like they had fun with that. I feel like X-Men, because there's so many different characters and different sets of powers, like you say, the fight scenes feel more varied because there's a lot more variety they can play with, and like you say, come up with fun combos that are unique and feel refreshing for these characters. The fights this episode was so good.
And bearing in mind, we know for a fact that some of it is animated 2D like the original was, and some of it is animated in 3D. At no point does it ever feel like it's cutting between the two. It feels so smooth when they transition between them. It's crazy.
Yeah, they've done a good job of hiding the 3D, which is always like, this is kind of parallel. It happens a lot in anime that some anime shows hide the 3D really well and use it in clever ways. Others, it's like suddenly you'll be watching, oh, there's a 3D scene, and it suddenly jolts out at you. But no, X-Men's doing a great job in that sense, like you say.
Maybe like anime fans are sitting here going, yeah, the fights are good, but they are just like anime level fights. Cool. But these are characters that I grew up being enamored with, but I'm getting to see in that style. I've always thought anime does phenomenal fight scenes, but I don't have the time to watch 1,000 episodes of One Piece.
No, that I would say there's definitely the fights in this were great. Anime fights are just a different level, but I agree with what you're saying. Like for people like in the watch anime or watch other shows that have these incredible animated fight scenes, this might not be new to them. But you got to think for Marvel fans, this is like a new level that I don't think they've got to enjoy with their characters. It's kind of pushed the bar up into this space of like, now we're talking about anime. It's like bringing it higher to the where it should be, and where I think more of this superhero content should push to be. Like there's levels. Like I feel like X-Men's setting a new bar for kind of what is now going to be expected from kind of animated stuff.
And here's the other thing that we absolutely need to remember: this show is following the comics in a much more faithful adaptation than we actually have ever really seen in media. Yeah, they do it a bit quicker than the comics do it because they don't want loads of extra filler and stuff. But like, I went back and I didn't finish watching X-Men the original animated series before 97 came around. I ran out of time. But they have the Dark Phoenix saga in there and how that happens, and it all lines up with how it actually worked, down to like the visual style they take from the characters. So if you read these comics in the 90s or whenever they were written, the comics that this show is based off, probably the 80s, as a child, and you're watching this now, you're probably like, oh my God, this is how I visualized it.
Oh yeah, they're probably like, oh my God, I know what's going to happen. And it's, well, it's like, we talked about it last week. Obviously it ended with Jean Grey coming in. It's like, okay, so you're like, well, there was a story where one's that Cable is the son of a clone of Jean Grey, so looks like it might be leaning towards this. And then it's like, this episode's like, yeah, that is exactly what happened. And it's just like, okay, cool, now we get to visually see it in animation.
Exactly that.
I will say, clone Jean Grey or Goblin Queen? Goblin Mummy?
So here's the thing. I think, despite the fact that superhero media is generally quite sexualized, I think that's not a crazy thing to suggest. I think we've always done a good job of not really like commenting on that because it's not often necessary.
No.
When it comes to the X-Men, it is necessary. And I don't just mean this for the women characters. The first person I mentioned it about was Gambit and his slutty crop top.
Yeah,
they are all like, the X-Men are inherently alternative, and they might not feel alternative anymore, but they were when it happened.
Yeah.
You've got your little hairy Wolverine and Beast, and then you've got Angel and Iceman. Everyone's represented, and as a result, all sexuality is represented. They are all like, I saw I think I sent it to you, the TikTok talking about Gambit.
Yes, and how he is just like why are people
Gambit
shocked?
is clearly a bisexual man. They've partnered him with the attractive woman that he can't touch. It's a metaphor for a bisexual man. And like it's all there. Yes, that's fine. If you want to sit there on your right-wing agenda and go, no, they just fight robots and they have superpowers, there's no hidden meaning, that's fine. You can delude yourself. People with media literacy, however, can look at these and, okay, let's be clear. The most straight looking person in the entire house, Cyclops, has literally had sex with Wolverine. Canonically.
There you go.
Let's just
I think a lot of like that thing with like Gambit, all those people that are getting annoyed and be like, oh my god, Gambit should have crop top, like this isn't right. I feel like they only ever saw the original X-Men films and are basing any representation of the characters off that. But then it's like, like you said, you go to the comics and Gambit is bisexual coded. It's in his colors of his like suit. He's pink and black and blue all over, and it's like,
do you know what I mean?
People
like,
take what
crazy.
They take like one visual version and not actually the source material, and they're like, oh well, he's not like that in this, and this is what I watched, and this is all I know of the X-Men. So your comics are wrong.
Also, in the 90s, men wearing crop tops was fashion.
Yeah.
So like, it also lines up there.
It's just
the moral of the story is just get over yourself. And canonically, Magneto is the only person who can have sex with Rogue, which I found out after last week's episode, which is hilarious. Apparently, he can use his magnetism powers to essentially put himself in like a little body condom or something that like keeps him safe from her touch.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like they're going to lead up to that?
Because he gets her pregnant in the comics.
And before that happens in this show,
I like. He's so that all the characters are designed in a very aesthetically pleasing way.
Yeah,
and I just think it is almost one of them ones where it's like, if you don't want to admit that, you actually might have larger internalized issues.
The thing as well is
you
like,
don't want to admit it.
We mentioned it last week, but it's like the meme of the X-Men show has always been guy saw Rogue, and it's that one moment where she's like led on her side.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, and then everyone saw the trailer for this and was like, oh my god, they've ruined Rogue. And it's almost like now the show's coming out there, and I was like, no, look, we're doing it to everyone.
they're all attractive. Who's your favorite is the real question.
It's like, oh, you thought we used to be bad. Now look what we're animating.
Put it this way. I'm putting this as a call out to every attractive person in the world. Halloween this year, X-Men 97 costumes only.
I'd love to see like a rise in X-Men costumes.
All of the attractive people owe it to the rest of the world, men and women, and everyone in between. If you're attractive, you owe it to the world to dress as an X-Men for Halloween this year.
I feel like I recall you saying you wanted to play Gambit.
I would.
Episode in a crop top.
I would get jacked, and I would do the Austin Butler working with a vocal coach to the point where I can't unlearn my voice to play Gambit. If they want me to do it, I'll do it. I don't give a fuck. I will become Gambit.
I feel like we should also talk about in this episode, we are definitely getting a future episode where Cable appears, I feel.
So Cable was in the original show.
Right, yeah. So
pretty early in the original show.
Okay, so maybe we get him again then.
So yeah, the real question is going to be, does he come back for whatever reason and they start to piece it together? I don't know how long it took them to piece it together in the comics.
Okay.
It'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting. The other thing is, of course, and like, I don't necessarily want to get into this conversation, but it's worth mentioning. The show's been incredibly successful off rip.
Yes,
does this put Marvel under pressure to consider rebooting other animated shows from the same era? Or do they just go, no, this is lightning in a bottle, let's not overcommit?
I think they'll wait to see how viewership holds, because we are 3 episodes in. So
yeah, I think that would be the rational response. Does the episodes hold for an extended period? Yes, okay, continue. One last point to make on the show before we move on to our next point, our next topic. Bob Iger's a fucking moron. My man sat there not even a month ago, and when we need to move away from pushing like agendas and just go back to telling stories, let's leave all the political stuff out of it. They said, let's stop taking risks and just land on the bankers, blah blah blah, go woke, go broke bullshit. X-Men has taken over the fucking internet. Everyone is loving it, and it is literally the most woke thing I've seen on TV this decade. So
the annoying thing is, he's just going to see the success and be like, okay, so X-Men is a play it safe thing. Now I just want X-Men films. Scrap the rest of the MCU. We're just going X-Men.
I'm okay with that.
I know, but you know what I mean. Like he'll just move to this is now the safe thing, and everything else is pointless. And it's like that's not the point here.
Anyway, Invincible, episode 7.
Yes, we're back with another episode.
This show is so peak. Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh, as I was saying, animation renaissance. If you would have told me even 2 years ago when we were starting this that we're going to have weeks where we just have 3 animated shows that are all unique and all so good, I would have laughed at you.
Oh yeah, like considering we started this, presuming we were going to be talking about the MCU forever and probably DC if they got their act together. And then here we are talking about an independent comic that is not even related to either of those, and it's an animated show. It's wild.
It's incredible. First and foremost, I'm going to talk about my favourite part of the entire episode.
Okay.
Which is them at Comic-Con and him getting his comic signed by Seance Dog writer.
Yep.
So that is a homage to a scene from the comic.
Okay.
That they've changed slightly.
Is it they talk about making a comic in the comic?
Yes.
Okay.
So he says, it's crazy how you guys managed to get these out so frequently. He's like, can I tell you a little secret? Sometimes we cut corners and we reuse the same art. And then it shows Mark not moving. And they just change the text bubble. But it's the same drawing.
Yeah.
And like with no background, they get rid of all the background information. And Watch goes, don't you think that's a bit cheap? And then it cuts back to the same shot from before. And he goes, no, not really. He's like, fair enough. It's an homage to that.
Okay.
But they've done it so much better. And of course, in the animation, you always have more freedom. That's the beauty of animation compared to a flat comic book. But the talking through the process and showing them in effect.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I just loved that. Obviously, like it started off with animation takes a while. Because obviously a lot of people were like, oh my God, we're having to wait ages for this. And like, as soon as it started with that, I was like, oh, this is about to be great. I'm a sucker for like meta jokes about themselves and like, oh, breaking the fourth wall or whatever it is. Yeah. And then, when it starts cutting around, it's like, oh yeah, well, the artist in me already knew what they were going to start doing. He's like, oh yeah, we cover our mouths. And then there's just them like, that's really interesting. Just like... It's most obvious. Good. The funny thing is, I guarantee everyone saw that. I was like, oh no, it's going to break the illusion. And then you completely forget about it 10 seconds afterwards. And they probably
move on with the rest of your life. You're so used to it.
You won't notice it unless you're like really focusing, trying to pay attention.
Yeah. It's so good the way they do it. It's such a respectful nod to it all. I like the nod to the animators and how hard they work.
Yes.
It was really cool, really funny. Great homage to a scene from the comic, but made relevant to the medium you're enjoying it through.
Yeah.
So good. Really,
it was really good.
Funny. Especially when they did the close-up. He's like, and the best bit is sometimes when we do a close-up shot, we can get really detailed. But the problem is it then ends up looking like a completely different show.
And then they completely did a new style of Mark's face, and I was like, that's really funny. I was actually more expecting them to do like a hyper realistic face.
Just a picture of Stephen, is it Stephen Ewan?
Yeah. Oh, that would have been hilarious if it was just Stephen Ewan.
That might have been a bit too meta.
Maybe it's a bit too hard.
But yeah, no, really, really good scene. But anyway, the overall show.
Broke my heart. Honestly, the end. We're jumping straight to the end, but the end of this episode, we knew it was coming. Yeah. We felt the build up between Mark and oh my god, I've blanked on her name.
Amber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But God,
it almost hurt like an actual breakup.
Yeah, it really did. And it was the breakup of you both know it's just not working out, but neither of you want it to be over, but you realize it's better if it is.
The crazy thing is, I know what happens in like that kind of respect going forward, and you don't. So it's really funny, like, as a semi-outside perspective, because I knew this had to happen eventually for where stuff goes, but I didn't know how or when or why. But yeah, incredibly interesting. Do you remember? It might have been during the first 4 episodes we were talking about. I mentioned a character people were waiting for to show up, and anyone who was excited for that character to show up was being an absolute weirdo.
Yeah, vaguely.
That is Anissa.
Oh, the Viltrumite.
Yeah.
Lady.
So we're not going to talk about the scene because it shouldn't be a topic of conversation. People are being weirdos about it, though, which is making it a topic of conversation. But the people who are waiting for this traumatic scene are so fucking lazy, they don't even know when the scene actually takes place in the continuity. So they were all complaining that they've cut it, which wouldn't be a bad thing, really, for today's episode, when it shouldn't happen till potentially season 4.
Oh. Okay.
Which is even more annoying. You've got this traumatic, horrific scene that a lot of the people are like, while it does make sense, the way people are acting about it, it might actually be better to just cut it. And then the people who are being weird about it are like, oh, I can't believe they've not shown the scene. And it's like, well, it's not supposed to happen for like another 2 seasons.
Right. Why do I feel like I have an idea what it might be? But
you're probably not a million miles away.
Yeah.
It's fucking horrific. If you are one of these people who are excited for this character for that reason, get a fucking grip of yourself.
I will say, her showing up, I was just like, "Well, you got no fucking chance." Like
the way they continue to introduce Viltrumites who are even more powerful.
This is the thing.
Fucking
it's
terrifying.
Like he fought the ones on the bug planet who are older, and I was like, "Oh, he struggled," but he kind of got like his handle on things towards the end of it when he like was fighting for his life. And I'm like, okay, he's probably not gonna win fights, but like he can maybe somewhat hold his own. And then this girl shows up and just absolutely destroys him. I was like, oh, bro, you are. And obviously, like he's gonna hit training now. Like that's clearly what Cecil's gonna be like. We're getting you fucking trained up so you can fight this as best you can. But damn.
Chaos. Just I've got so many questions. It's gonna be like it's chaos. Donald has died like a million fucking times.
Donald's been through the shit, man. He's
when Cecil said it wasn't my decision, I was like, oh, I went, oh fuck, how many times has he died?
Oh, see, I was like, oh, my brain went, they fixed him, and then Donald was himself with all the memories, and he's like, I can't. He was going through shit, and he just couldn't handle it, so he asked them to wipe. And then when he's like, he plays the first video, and it's a different death, and I'm like, oh, I see where this is going.
And then you just see all the files on there. You're just like,
yeah. And it's like, what? How much of this man is actually human anymore, if any?
But it's also at the same time like, yeah, we can look at it the raw ball bones of just the craziness. Oh my god, this guy's died so many times. But it's also like it's a whole story about what does it actually mean to be human. Oh, I just love this. Anyone who says that comic book and superhero media on like true art need to just eat shit, because there is no way you can tell me this Donald arc of finds out you're a robot and then that has to come to terms with what even am I? Oh my god, it's worse than I thought, this, that, and the other. Complete that arc and then help save someone else going through a similar thing.
Yeah.
And doesn't understand it's all talking about humanity and how sometimes you'll feel like you're less than human or you've lost parts of yourself, but What truly matters is your choices and the decisions you make.
And it's almost
it's so beautiful.
It's like, obviously we see it as like he's becoming a robot, and it's like, but actually even just simpler than that, it's a man who's gone through severe trauma multiple times understands how someone going through trauma for the first time is feeling, and it's showing like, look, that you can get through it and live with it as hard as it is. I've done it many times, and here I am. You just have to figure it out. But yeah, that whole side story going on is so deep.
The bit I found really, really interesting about that as well, though, the amount of times he's willingly gone, wipe their memories.
Yeah.
But now he's got to the point where it's like, no, not again.
Well, he was obviously was going to, and then it was this interaction of like, wait, no, me understanding this helps me understand other people and what they like we've helped and what they might be going through.
Exactly that. Originally, he was getting rid of the memories so that he could help people, but now he's realized by keeping them memories, he can help more people potentially.
Yeah. Can we also talk about though how Cecil's a dick for keeping Sinclair alive?
Yeah.
And just hasn't. It's like I was not shocked. Obviously, he's on that screen. I'm like, of course he took the thing that was dangerous, and he's like, we are going to use it because we are the government. He's done it with multiple things, and he's shown that that's the case. It's just like, really? I'm sure that's going to be an issue later.
He's an entire Cecil is a character that makes you ask yourself the question, do the ends justify the means? But they don't just do it subtly. They routinely ask you to go, are you okay with that? And it's almost like talking to you, the viewer. Because there are times where Cecil does stuff and you're like, I get that. Like with Donald, saving him and keeping it a secret is what we initially thought. We were like, I kind of get that. You don't want the person to die, and it would be very traumatic. Maybe that makes sense.
Yeah.
But then you see the extent of it and how many times he's done it and how cold and callous he is about it. And the fact that he keeps this horrific human who's done so many horrible things alive. You're like, okay, that doesn't sit right with me. Cecil as a character is there the entire time to be like a moral gauge for the viewer to go, okay, where do I actually... What's too far?
It's also that thing of, because it's superheroes and they're dealing with like world-ending things, it blurs the lines more for you, because you're like, damn, that's a really shitty thing. But because he did that, he has just been able to save the world because he had the means to. And it's like, okay, if he hadn't done that, then it'd all be over. So it's kind of okay. It's like you say, it's this moral compass of like, what is right and what is wrong, and what can you look past.
Well, yeah, so here's the thing. If a random person threatens your significant other, you're not instantly going to want to kill them. You're just going to go, you need to walk the fuck away. You might call the police, whatever.
Yeah.
As Mark, when the Viltrumite comes down and threatens your significant other, even though he doesn't want to be a killer, he knows if I don't kill this person, they will harm her. And it adds that level, because we can't experience that situation, but it does, again, force us to ask these questions. But every episode in this season so far has had such an underlying feeling associated with it. So like this episode was focused a lot on like trauma, whether that be how you get through that in a relationship or by yourself, or how do you live after a traumatic event. And we've seen that a lot of times through different episodes of things like loss and feelings of weakness and feeling like you're not yourself. And like constantly, this entire series, despite being marvelous, has actually been quite depressing and bleak in a way.
Yeah, there's been a lot of downs.
An uplift on each one. There's like there is a way out, but it's not necessarily easy.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily nice.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
So phenomenally entertaining episode.
There was also...
I'm a little bit worried about Rex.
Yeah, see, I was when it started off with the whole, like, he's gone on a runner. And I'm like, nah, I kind of get it. He's the same place Mark was, where, like, Mark was just getting out there and silently saving people and stuff and trying to prove himself that he needs to get out there. Rex is doing the same. I do think I liked how I was like, oh, it's not going great for him. And then he just cracks out the hand cannon and he's like, oh, I should have opened with that. As if it's always like that thing where it's like, because he's not used to the fact he now has a robotic hand.
It was really similar to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where Bucky uses the wrench instead of his super arm. He's like, why didn't you just use your arm? And he's like,
I'm right-handed.
I'm right. I've forgotten about it.
Yeah.
And it is that it's a new. Why would Rex instantly think of that? But a little bit of issue getting his powers to work. A little bit of a psychothematic problem potentially, kind of Spider-Man 2 styles. I love them story arcs. I love arcs where characters like can't access their powers because of a mental block. Really, really good stories.
It'll be interesting to see how his story progresses now, and if he kind of does. I think this is now the redemption arc for him, which worries me for his future down the line. But for now, I'll enjoy him still being alive and being able to take a bullet to the head. Obviously, we got Alan at the end of the episode. I thought that was, once again, Alan just being hilarious.
Do you know what it is? Once again, the genius of the storytelling here. We've just seen Anissa beat the snot out of Mark.
Yes.
Who we have seen beat the snot out of other Viltrumites.
Yes.
So we're like, okay, she's fucking terrifying.
Yep.
And then you see Alan just tank one to the chin like a champ.
Well,
instantly you're just like, oh, okay.
It's the way that he tanked. Well, he's like on his phone and it's like, oh shit, you've just got caught by the Viltrumite ship. And then she comes out. I love the thing. He was like, maybe they didn't see me. Hopefully they didn't see me. Oh, okay. No, they saw me. And then she smacks him and you're like, oh, we know how bad that is. And he goes flying. And then it cuts to him and he's like, huh, that didn't hurt nearly as much as it did last time. It's like, one, we're like, oh shit. Like that, we know how hard that was. And then it's also that thing of, oh shit, his regen actually worked. He is stronger now. This is confirmation of it. And then he punches back and makes her bleed. And she's like, what the fuck? This is impossible. And then
the beauty of the cycle of it, isn't it? It's like the biggest problem in comic book media is always power scaling. People are arguing about it constantly. This show's doing the heavy lifting for you. The three people that killed Alan got the shit beat out of them by Mark and Nolan.
Yes.
Cool. Now Alan's fit again, and Anissa, who beat the snot out of Mark, was on par with Alan.
I reckon Alan can beat the shit out of her.
Quite possibly. That shows you where we're at. It also showed her how confused and scared she was about Alan, which is fucking exciting because I don't feel like this is Alan's final form. I can't wait to see Alan's final form.
I think Alan fully trained up is his final form because also it's like she 2-foots him in the head and you think, oh, okay, he can take a hit, but he's maybe not that strong. And then she's dragging him away and then he just opens his eye and you're like, oh, okay, this is a bit. He's faking it. I think because we know that's the same ship that's got Nolan on it. He's gonna end up in a cell opposite Nolan, and he's gonna be like,
break out together.
Oh, you're Mark's dad, and he's gonna be like, how the fuck do you know Mark? And he's like, and then there's gonna be this whole break. I think break out, and they'll go back to Earth or something.
Yeah, and we cannot be far away from the black and blue suit. I don't know if we get it next episode, but
I think we get it at the end of
the
shit
episode. Beat out of him, nearly on the brink of death, and losing Amber because of it. It's gonna be interesting.
Like we got the heartbreak, and then immediately ripped back to reality because his mum and Oliver are being held hostage by multiverse guy.
Time Hopper dude, yeah. Oh my god, we were worried about Oliver last week. Does Time Hopper guy kill Oliver?
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. It's like he's threatening them, and obviously, something's gonna happen.
If this season really ends with Mark losing his girlfriend and his baby brother in like a matter of days, I'm genuinely scared.
what if then after all that, and he's already like in mental turmoil, boom, Dad shows back up. And the whole world's like, holy shit, Omni-Man's back. And Mark has to be like, defend his dad, but also, what the fuck are you doing back here? There's going to be like a chaos of emotion.
I would, however, very much like a training montage of Mark with Optimus Prime. I forget the character's actual name. I just hear the voice and think of Optimus Prime.
Or him and Alan together training.
Like, I'm so excited for this show. I know we're going to have to wait a long time for the next season. I can live with it. It sucks, but I will live with it. But I cannot. I've got a feeling I might end up caving and reading it all, just because it's got to the point now where I have enough of the backstory and I know little bit parts in the future that I'm like, do I just read it all so that I can be ready to fully enjoy what's going to happen? I know it's techie out here, ladies and gentlemen. Should we get into some nerdy news though, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, we should. Quite a bit this week. I'm going
to start off with something I've forgotten off the list.
Oh.
Seth Rogen.
Oh.
Is apparently working very closely with Sony to develop an R-rated Venom show, an animated one.
Interesting.
And okay, so I have two feelings about this, and they are completely conflicting ones. On the one hand, I'm like, Seth Rogen is a comedy writer. I know that's not what y'all is, but this is my negative side. He's a comedy writer. Venom, while he does have some light-hearted moments, has been treated a little bit like a joke in more recent memory. Yeah. So this might be a bad thing. But on the flip side, I'm like, Seth Rogen is heavily involved with Invincible, The Boys, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, other things as well of similar ilk. Yeah. The guy knows what he's doing. Do we just let him cook?
If he can get like a similar vibe that Invincible has, where like it has these serious, pretty hard-hitting moments, but there's still some humor there a lot of the time. He could come up with something pretty good here. Interesting though that Sony's, I feel like, is this a sign that they are done trying to do live action Spider-Verse? Do we think this is they've taken enough bad hits that they're like, okay, our live action Spider-Verse isn't hitting, but we don't want to lose the rights. We know animation is hitting at the moment. Spider-Verse did really well. Maybe we need to transition and use these characters in animation.
I've got a feeling that it wasn't Sony's idea at all, and rather a writer has spoken to Seth. Seth's gone, yeah, I will work on this with you. And the writer's taking it to Sony, going, this is what I've got. Seth's already in. What do you think? I feel like that's how more of these shows get made than not at this point.
Probably.
I feel like that's also how the good shows get made.
I think you're right there.
A little tiny tidbit of gaming news, just because I wanted to hit this while the iron was still hot.
Yeah.
We will go into it in much more detail in a couple of weeks when Josh is back.
Yes, I'm sure we will.
Marvel Rivals has been announced.
Yeah, the Marvel Overwatch game.
Yeah. So, Overwatch is an interesting one to me, because when it first came out, the first one, I wasn't interested in that kind of game, so I didn't play it. And it was also like a full-price game at the time.
Yep.
Then by the time I was like, I'd be interested in playing this, it had already been out for so long and had such a toxic community that I was like, I am not going to learn to play this game while being called slurs the entire time.
No.
So I just never played it. Then Overwatch 2 came out, which opened up an opportunity to try it, because everyone had to be reset a little bit to try and learn. But it came out to just everyone going, this is worse than Overwatch. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to give it a miss. So what have these bastards done? They've gone and made Overwatch, a game that I always felt like I missed out on a little bit. And they've gone, What if we made it superheroes, Connor?
It's
bastards.
It's funny because it's like I played Overwatch when it first came out, and like I played it a lot. Like I grinded that game, and I would say early Overwatch was fun back when it was like 6v6 before they changed it to 5v5, and like before a lot of the new characters came out, and then balancing got messy, and then obviously ranked got messy, and it slowly, like all those games became a like it struggled with its own growth because of balancing issues. Then you got to keep content constantly coming, which then adds more. It just became like this cycle, and obviously people stop playing. Community gets worse because it gets smaller, and like all those games, if you've been playing for ages, you get all the sweaty people that are really good. It kind of just went downhill. This is interesting because from my point of view, it like 100% is Overwatch. From what we've seen of the gameplay, like it is Overwatch, just like Valorant art style ish with Marvel characters. Potentially could be very good. I said it in like when we first saw it get announced and our early comments to each other. My prediction is this game could be a lot of fun, but it will live and die with its balancing and its content rollout.
For sure.
Because we know from what they showed and screenshots, there's a battle pass. It's going to be a live service game. If they don't roll, and we know those games, if they don't roll out content, they die off, they get boring because it's the gameplay loop's too small and too repetitive. Also, if they start pumping out, adding in new heroes and superheroes and stuff, balancing could become an issue, and that messes with your enjoyment of playing it.
This is exactly where I sit on it. Everyone who plays this game will have heard of Marvel heroes. Even if they're not massive Marvel fans inherently, you're going to get some people who are just like, oh, this looks like a fun game to play, I'll give it a go. But a lot of the people who play are going to be Marvel fans, which is not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have their favourite heroes.
Mm-hmm.
If their hero is underpowered, they're going to bitch and cry and whine. If their favourite hero isn't in the game, they're going to bitch and cry. I want to, like you saw me, the second I saw this game was coming in the Discord, I was like, I'm already getting too excited for this game.
Mm-hmm.
I think this could be like a lot of fun. Like everything I do online is sit here and talk with you about superhero stuff.
Yep.
And then I play first-person shooters and occasionally a story game.
Yep.
Most notably, superhero story games.
Yeah.
Like, they are my two biggest nerdoms.
Mm-hmm.
So this game should be perfect for me. But I do just worry that I'm going to sat here going, oh, I wish they added this character, this character, this character. And then they either don't add them for ages and I just feel like I'm missing out. Or they do add them and they're either really overpowered, which means like they're in every single game and I like don't get to play them and it's ruining the fun, or they're so shit that even though I really want to use them because it'd be awesome, I just feel like I can't have fun because I'm getting dunked on. If they can nail the balancing, which is basically impossible, they've got money on their hands, because the skins that you can make for Marvel characters are unlimited. The amount of maps and locations and characters you can add is basically unlimited.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of content potential with this, and like you say,
no game before launch has had this much content potential.
It really is going to be balancing, and like obviously I'm sure like you say, we'll talk more in depth maybe in a couple of weeks. Maybe there'll be more information out. But like from my experience of Overwatch and knowing that like the issue it has with balancing is there is like a very set meta, and it's like because of the nature of the game being a 5v5 and you're pushing an objective or something like that, it becomes these same core characters that just everybody plays, which can make it feel a bit stale. Or you're going to get like an issue with that where you have the enemy team picks a certain character, and if it allows swapping characters mid-game, this works fine if they're like literally copy Overwatch. But it's like, I don't know, for Overwatch you have Pharah and everyone's like, oh my god, we need someone to counter Pharah because someone swapped a soldier or something. You're going to get this situation of like, oh, they've got Spider-Man, can someone switch to Captain America, please? And then, you're going to get players that are just like, I don't want to switch off the character I'm playing Iron Man, I'm not swapping. And then it's going to get this horrible vibe with the game.
That. Do you think this game would have a ranked scene
though? In my opinion, any game like this, whether it's Marvel or not, like anything that is a team-based game, you need a ranked mode. Because
I don't disagree.
But
as a general rule, a ranked scene leads to an esports scene. Does Marvel, knowing what esports players are like on Twitter, does Marvel want any kind of esports scene attached to them?
Do
you see what I'm thinking?
Yeah, but here's the thing. There is potential there. If they do ranked mode, it can be like, oh, I'm Infinity Stone rank. I'm Agent Shield. Like they can have creative fun with the ranks.
So what I'm hearing is Cutscene Esports has found its first game.
And here's my thing. The mistake Overwatch made was it launched, and within a month they launched their esports. They didn't let it grow naturally, and they launched it like a year after. They were like, we are now franchised. And that was the death of Overwatch, because they franchised on a game that was like 2 years old or a year old. Marvel could, if they're smart about it, and this game is fun and everyone's enjoying it, add in a ranked mode pretty early. That'll then build like people being like, I'm the #1 Iron Man in the world.
That'd be a fucking bar.
Which is, yeah, like, I'm the best Spider-Man player. Like, people will, like, that will drive the player base. And that's why I think rank's good for it, because of the style of game that it'll be. Don't fuck around with like esports. Just like let creators run, or like teams, like let it naturally grow, which is what a lot of games make the mistake nowadays, is they try to force esport because they think that's how to make their game stick. And then those esports die within like a year.
I just can't wait to play as Batman. I'm so excited.
You don't get prep time though.
All I'm saying is a Gambit as a playable character throwing cards would be so much fun. Throwing explosive cards at people would like all of the X-Men are perfect for this.
Like from what they've shown, the characters that they've picked, like there was the one we're talking so much about this, but oh well.
Yeah.
There's like obviously one of the main clips they show of Spider-Man is him webbing up people, which is obviously going to be some sort of stun ability.
Yeah.
So one of the comments was like, no way have they shown Spider-Man and he's not even swinging around. But there is actually a split moment later on in the trail, like the teaser, where you can see you can swing from webs. Like that's going to be his movement tech. And it's like, when you start thinking like that, Iron Man, you could have some fun with either they have just base level Iron Man, or like, oh, now we have Hulkbuster Iron Man as a separate character, or one of his abilities lets him like switch. There's so many different things they can do.
Even that, you could do a Hulkbuster skin for Hulk, and out of the Hulkbuster armor just pops Tony instead of Bruce Banner.
Yeah, that's true. You could just have a Hulkbuster skin. Yeah.
But like it's like infinite options. And because this is set in a multiversal kind of scenario, you can also have fun with like the Infinity Warp characters, which was like Arachnite and stuff like that. It's unlimited potential, which means it can only fall flat on its face.
Yeah. I will say, from all the Marvel games that are like team-based heroes, even with DC ones, this is kind of what people have wanted. My worry is this style of game too late?
Yeah, I never thought they'd make a shooter. That's crazy.
I do worry if this is too late.
How am I going to be allowed to kill someone as Spider-Man?
You're not going to though, are you? It's not going to be killing.
It'll be an elimination or something.
Yeah, it'll be eliminated, and because it's like some multiverse thing, they'll pass it off as like, I don't know, you're kicking them back to their realm.
But yeah, it looks very, very cool.
Yes,
one thing I will say is apparently Doctor Strange is a tank, and that's weird. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, I don't understand that one really, but he seems to set up portals which look cool. So
I can't wait for all the boys to get on that, even if it's just once, just for the chaos. More Marvel news. Florence Pugh has released the first footage on set at Thunderbolts. I like this clip. I'm about to go on a bit of a rant. This is not anti-Florence Pugh. This is not anti-anything. It's just more pointing out a shift.
Okay.
Once upon a time, Marvel stars would have their phone taken off of them. They weren't even allowed to take pictures on set in case anything got hacked on their phone and they lost the photos. Now we've got Florence Pugh walking around, videoing herself in costume, walking onto set. I don't have issue. It's just wild how times have changed.
Wait, you believe this is her phone?
Oh, but you know what I mean? Even if it's just like part of the marketing and stuff,
I'm sorry,
it's just crazy.
Like, this is 100% a Marvel-owned phone and a marketing video done in a style. They've said, film this like you're filming an Instagram story. We're gonna do this as a little bit of marketing for Thunderbolts. Obviously, all she shows is her suit and her coming out of her cabin trailer. Not gonna let not gonna let us show anything. It's clearly all set up marketing, but they know Marvel. This is sort of going off what you're saying, is Marvel is shifting. They understand now how people consume marketing, consume media. People watch TikToks and watch this, and like they prefer content that feels real, whether it is or not. So you're trying to emulate that. So yeah, give her a company phone, get it to record something like it's for Instagram, and then we'll control the release of it. So it feels like celebrity showing something they shouldn't, but then it's like, okay, no, this is quite clever marketing, but it's clever. Don't get me wrong, it's very clever from them.
I just never thought I'd see the day, bearing in mind for how long we had the memes of like Kevin with like the sniper anytime anyone stepped out of line, to just actively letting someone film on set is just crazy. I know we didn't see anything other than the suit. Like, I know we haven't actually had any, but just like,
do you know what?
Conceptually, the change is just such a big change.
Do you know what the next step of this is? Some random Twitter account tweeting leaked photos, and then it's like the Marvel Twitter account reposting it. It's like, we're gonna have to find who released these, and it becoming this like completely on the nose, like this is purposeful leaks, but we're just gonna frame it as if it's like an actual.
Well, that's what everyone thought Tom Holland was doing for years, wasn't it? That he was actually being told to leak stuff. And I think by the end he was. At the beginning, it was a genuine mistake, and they just pounced on that opportunity.
And I think this is them playing off of that now. They now realize everyone's waiting for the leak or the little bit of teaser. So why don't we just control that? But frame it as if it's still the leaks and whatnot.
Sure. I'm going to moan about more stuff now.
Okay.
It's quite a moany news. I do apologise.
We had a good start.
New Disney Plus logo.
Well,
it's dog shit.
Okay.
It's horrible.
The new Disney Plus logo hasn't really changed. They've just changed the colour.
They've also changed the gradient on the arch.
Well,
it used to like blend over, so it was like the actual arch, and now it's just solid white. It's horrific. I don't like it. It was unnecessary.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why they've decided to.
Do you know what I think it is? And it kind of links into our next bit. Disney Plus and Hulu have merged.
Well, yeah.
Is this lighter bluey greeny colour the merge of the Disney Plus blue we had before and the Hulu colour? Is that what it is? It doesn't make it acceptable, but that's the only thing that would at least make sense.
That would be interesting to see if that does. What was Hulu's gradient? Was it just because it wasn't green because the logo is green?
Yeah, no, that's the green I'm talking about, the logo green.
Oh, so it was just. It was like they had like a gradient that was a bit bluey, mainly green. Yeah, I'm looking at like different Hulu logos and gradients, and there's one that has like a very similar greeny blue, more their green into blue. It's definitely to do with the merge. Like they've rebranded the colors to.
Cool. That might actually piss me off more.
Yeah, it's just companies do this all the time. They rebrand, and it's like 90% of the time it's unnecessary. Some do it more than often others.
Do you know what it is? I like pastel colors and these light fun colors, and it is a nice color. I don't actually hate the color, but I don't want corporations to use them. and maybe it's just a moment of my insanity. I'm not going to pretend I'm above having moments of insanity, but I don't want corporations to feel like they're allowed to be quirky and human and here's this color. You're a corporation. Leave the fun colors for people. You have your boring blues and blacks and reds and greens and purples. Now, anytime you see this color anywhere, it's going to be like, oh, that's the Disney Plus color. It's like, no, fuck off. Whereas before it was just a generic dark blue. Cool.
Yeah, I'm looking at it more. And it's like,
I don't dislike the color. I just don't think they should be allowed to use it.
it is 100% because of the merger. And it's like when you look at it close up, the top like right corner is still the Disney Plus dark blue, and the bottom's the light. It's literally just they've blended their two gradients.
And they haven't updated the website or the app. So the app icon
rushed.
I don't know if my
I'm telling you now, it's because it's been rushed.
Let me see. So like
that stuff will come in time. It's just they've pushed the logo because it's the easiest
thing. You can see it at the top there.
Yeah.
So they've updated the logo there, but in the app, it's still all of the original colorings. It's still the dark color. So they've not done it properly, which is even more infuriating. Yes. It's a stupid thing to get angry about, but it's a nerd podcast. We get angry about stupid things.
It's just a marketing thing.
It's unnecessary.
It's to go with the merger.
So the Disney Plus Hulu merger that was announced ages ago has finally finalized and gone live. So all the Hulu stuff's on Disney Plus. Nothing changes for us, I believe, Hori, because in the UK the entire time Hulu stuff has come via Disney Plus anyway.
Yeah, and we didn't have access to Hulu, so
so nothing's changed for us. It's just they've uniformed everything across the world.
Which, as much as like, yes, Disney's like we don't want these big corporations to get bigger. For our convenience, this is a nice.
Well, I mean, Disney already owned like half of Hulu anyway, so it's not like they actually have any more power now. It's just more convenient.
It's more convenient means we definitely don't miss anything that might go on Hulu.
Spider-Man 4 is due to start filming in September or October.
Do we think they have decided on a script yet?
I think, based on the most recent rumors, I think it is going to be the script is closer to what Tom and Kevin wanted, and they're going to hit the release date that Sony wanted instead.
Okay.
Which is why they're starting filming so early.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. Right.
And then Justin Lin is leading the list of people who are expected to be directing, which was reported by the Schneider, which is a journalist who became an independent guy. So it's like Insider, but his last name's Schneider. He's very good at what he does. And they've also reported that Zendaya is set to return as MJ.
Okay.
I am not going to badmouth Justin Lin, despite my feelings about Fast and Furious being very well known. I don't know which of the Fast films he directed, so I'm just going to double check that.
Yeah,
Movies. He did Fast 5, which is a good film. He did Fast and Furious. Which one was that? That wasn't the first one.
No, that was the fourth one.
4.
Yeah.
He did 6. He did Tokyo Drift, but then he's also done 9 and X. To be fair, 9 and X are essentially superhero films, so he's got the credibility.
To be fair to him, I would say he did Tokyo Drift, and then he kind of got locked into the Fast franchise. And I mean, I feel like the Fast franchise became not so much he had control. I could be wrong, but I feel from how it's gone, I feel like certain board members and figureheads have pushed it in a certain direction, and he's just stayed director because then the style feels the same throughout the franchise.
What I will say is, despite my feelings towards the Fast and Furious franchise, I have never had any problem with how the films look.
No, and how the film's been filmed and put together. Like, they've always done a good
my
job
issue
there.
has only ever been the story, and that's not even for all of them. I love the story up until Fast 5, maybe even Fast 6. It's
Fast
after
5
that
is
they
kind of
start to
awesome.
lose me.
Yeah.
But Tokyo Drift, Fast 5, they're good looking films. The action's tight. He
I
can
look
do a good
forward
job, I'm
to
sure.
Peter Parker going to a midnight car meet up in a multi-story garage.
Imagine.
Vin Diesel just pulls up.
I wouldn't. I mean, if they try shoehorning the Fast universe, I might actually be done.
Part of the MCU officially.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that leads. I haven't heard any of the other names on this supposed shortlist for directors, and I would be curious to know who else is apparently on the list.
Yeah, that could be quite interesting.
X-Men 97.
Yes, we briefly mentioned this.
Reportedly, had 4 million views in its first 5 days. Fucking hell.
Nostalgia hits hard. Always does.
It does. Kind of crazy though when YouTubers do more. Not us, but YouTubers do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is wild that like certain YouTubers can hit this in a day.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and this is apparently the best TV show release or animated release in Disney Plus history. I can't remember which it is. It also is still sitting at like 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, I think.
I mean,
which is
we
absurd.
talked about it earlier with the new episode, but like it's such a good show. It doesn't surprise me that it hit these numbers and that it's doing so well. Nostalgia always hits hard, especially for this sort of show, and they've hit the ground so like running and done such a good job with this kind of reboot that I don't see these numbers dropping really.
My only concern. The writer who was fired, Bo DeMeo.
Yes.
Has written season 1 and helped write season 2. Season 2's already been written.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to notice a massive fall off after the second season? Did he have the secret sauce? Did he have DeMeo?
It's not just one writer though, is it?
It's not, but he was the head writer, I believe.
Yeah, but I believe that projects like this are just because he's the head writer doesn't necessarily mean he was the secret sauce. I think collectively, if like the whole writing team had been scrapped, then I'd be worried.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But I think after a season and a half, the writers that are there will have got the vibe by that point and we'll be able to continue things.
You're right. But yeah, I mean, we're loving the show. I see no reason the show's going to all of a sudden stop being good. So this is great. And in a lovely bit of news, this is like the only bit of like British nobility I still don't, or I don't hate.
Yeah, this is the only reason I still don't mind the monarchy.
Yeah, because this is quite cool. And while I'm like, I absolutely would happily see the monarchy gone tomorrow. The notion of getting something like this would be really cool.
Yeah.
Producer Emma Thomas will receive a damehood.
Mm-hmm.
Also, her husband and directing partner Christopher Nolan will be receiving a knighthood for their work on many very successful films.
Yes. So he will become Sir Christopher Nolan. I don't know what Damehood's title becomes.
Dame
Is it just Dame? Okay.
Yeah, it's just Dame.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, really, really fucking cool. The only other Dame I can name is Dame Kelly Holmes. The fucking goat.
Dame Judi Dench.
Oh my god, Judi Dench! Do you know what? Me and Judy are on such good terms. I forget she's a Dame.
Oh, okay.
She's just Jude's to me.
Yeah, cool. Introduce us, yeah?
Dame Judi Dench. The fucking goat.
To be fair, that's such a like just
Smith name?
She's just so known as Dame Judi Dench that you forget that like that's her title and not just her name.
Is Maggie Smith?
I don't know.
Maggie Smith is a Dame. It's Dame Maggie Smith. Okay, cool.
Do you know what it is? It's because we say Maggie Smith is just referred to as Maggie Smith most of the time, where everyone says Dame Judi Dench. I think it just rolls off the tongue better, and she's kind of embraced it. So that's why we forget that she's like it's a title and not just her name.
Who else is a Dame that I've just not realised?
Don't know, but Christopher Nolan does this technically. There's got to be some weird stat for like he won all the awards for Oppenheimer and he's getting a knighthood all in one like
director to win the best director in the award season and get a knighthood at the end of it.
Yeah, like surely no one else has done that.
What I'm really curious for is what is actually on like whenever you get one of these awards, there's a reason for it.
I imagine it's for his
services to film is what it's going down as.
I was going to say services to film and media or whatever.
Yeah. So I imagine it'll be the same for Dame Emma Thompson. But really cool for them. Like,
yeah, imagine it, to be a couple and both get it.
And the best bit is it'll be the same service they both get it in.
Yeah. Absolute
which is
powerhouse.
Even cooler. Like, I would get so unbelievably blackout drunk after that, you could not imagine. And you know what the best bit is? And anyone right now can double check this. If you are made a knight or dame of the realm, you are also allowed to knight people.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I'm 99% sure that's true.
Can a knighted person...
Can a knight of the realm knight someone else?
Can a knight another person? What a question. In medieval times, yes. I don't know if it's still true.
I'm going to say it is. So, quick pact for everyone. If me or Horry ever get a knighthood and you stop us in the street, we will knight you as well. 3 knighthoods for everyone, as long as you're subscribed.
This is a totally random fun fact, but my younger cousin, he has a lordship. He got it as a birthday present. His dad, he joked about it, and his dad bought him one as a Christmas present. So he is technically Lord.
Did he go to the effort of getting it all updated so his post comes addressed to Lord?
I don't know about that.
I should have done.
He's getting married in a couple of weeks, so I want to know if he'll get referred to as Lord at the ceremony. Probably not.
But yeah, so that's really cool for them. Congratulations.
Yeah, very cool.
These are 2 of the few people that I don't hate getting this award because, like, they've made a lot of good films.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of deserved, honestly.
Artists and sports people are the people I think I like getting these awards. I don't like politicians getting these awards. They should not be allowed to get these awards.
No.
But that is it from us here this week on episode 108.
Yes, it is.
We'll be back next week with a double bill of The Bad Batch, I believe.
Ooh, I think possible. I can't remember.
Episode 4 of X-Men 97.
Yes.
And the season finale of Invincible.
I'm not looking forward to that one, I'll be honest. It's gonna be painful.
It's gonna hit.
It is.
But that is it. Make sure you like and subscribe and ring the bell so that you are back here next week for all that good stuff.
Yes.
And we'll catch you in a few.
Catch you in the next episode.